for their differing perceptions of Jesus. What do you think is responsible for this? And how do you see that playing out? Raphael wants to share, but he just can't quite. Oh, there he comes.
Let me see. I don't know. I just feel like there's like two things. Like for Simon, for Simon, he saw Jesus as more like an acquaintance, like a buddy, like sort of like not they didn't have that deep relationship. They just was like surfacey, like shallow talk. We all have friends that we just talk to, like, hey, how's it going? How's school? Like our classmates, maybe coworkers. And like the woman, she wanted something deeper with him, like a real relationship. Like sometimes, and I feel like Jesus wants what the woman wanted, like the relationship that the woman had instead of Simon. Like Jesus wants that deep relationship. Like wants to actually how we said to be open. Like he wants us to be open with him, and not just that surfacey, shallow, hey, how's it going? But he wants to know like our problems and what's bothering us and stuff like that. And Simon, since he just wanted like that surfacey relationship, he didn't really get much out of it because he didn't put in enough.
Woo! Great. Others? There are no wrong answers at this point.
Okay, so the differences that we noticed between Jesus and the woman was that, or not Jesus, Simon, sorry, how Simon treated Jesus was when he said, if this man were a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is, that she is a sinner. So how I interpreted it as was that Simon was kind of belittling Jesus in a way. He was like, oh, this man were really a prophet, then he would know what she's all about. And this woman is humbling herself in front of Jesus, like at his feet. And we also talked about how back then people's feet were really dirty and really gross. They were walking on the streets and stuff. It was dusty. She was crying at his feet and kissing his feet, like she was humbling herself. And I think what's responsible for this is just that Simon was a Pharisee, so he thought that he was a very righteous man. He didn't think that he was sinful, and this woman knew that she was sinful. And it kind of contrasts in the way that each of them treats Jesus is because Simon's like, I'm a Pharisee, so I'm on Jesus' level, and the woman, she's just like, I need to serve you, I need to surrender myself. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. Other volunteers?
Kind of going off of Raphael's stuff, kind of saw Simon as kind of playing the game of society and structure, kind of like, you gotta get in with this guy, so have him over to my house and have him eat. Whereas the woman was just kind of like, I'll do whatever it takes to be humble and like humiliate myself right in front of him just to near. So there's a big difference there.
That's great. Anybody else? I see someone right here who their small group wants them to share. Is that?
Do it.
No, never mind. Anybody else? Okay, then I'll go. My turn. So, I'm going to give you another question soon, but I wanted to reflect on this passage for a moment. And as I was reading this passage over and over again, getting ready for this, and I was thinking, does anyone here wonder what happened next? What happened next? Because this is actually like the end of the story in Luke. And it's like, and then Jesus went to this other town. And you're like, wait. What happened next? Because I assumed that this dinner continues, right? And I wondered, like, is there this really awkward silence? Is there some guy who's like, how about those Red Sox, right? Or like some people doing the awkward turtle or something? It's like, this is really awkward now. And the story is incomplete. The resolution is just partial, right? And I think the author does it on purpose. We talked about the woman. We looked at this woman and how she relates to Jesus, and how does the story resolve for her? Yeah, it does. There's forgiveness for her. There's this expression of gratitude on her part. And gratitude it's a great emotion, right? Feeling love, feeling gratitude, it's just good. It makes you feel good. It makes other people feel good. And then she is told, you are saved. And she's told, go in peace. And so she's saved, she's at peace, and she gets to leave. And then they're stuck with the awkward party. And so then did you have something to say? Okay. And then there's Simon the Pharisee. And how does it end for him? Well, he's kind of stuck at this point. And I think if you compare him to the woman, he loses a lot. It's harder for him to love than it is for her. It's harder for him to be grateful. And in fact, he's actually kind of judgmental. And it's not even clear whether he's forgiven himself at the end of the story. And so every time I read this passage, I find myself identifying with Simon or with the woman. I feel that same judgmental attitude inside of me toward others that Simon has. I find that I'm not a very grateful person toward God or toward other people when they give me something wonderful that I don't deserve. And maybe I'm not grateful because there's a part of me deep down that thinks that I do deserve it. And then there have been a few times, just a few, where I've read this passage and had a memory of feeling that same gratitude that the woman has. Feeling that same gratitude when God or someone in my life gives me love, forgiveness, a second chance, when it was the last thing I ever expected. So my question is, what about you today? Do you identify with the woman, or do you identify more with Simon the Pharisee, and why? So you can consider that in your small groups.